How Thomas Paine became the voice of the American Revolution. Thomas Paine wasn't a famous author in 1776. In fact, he had been living in America for only 2 years, but his pamphlet Common Sense became a sensation. 500,000 copies were sold, an astonishing number for that time. So who was Paine and how did he influence the American Revolution? Paine was born in England in 1737 to a poor family. He had to quit school at 13 to help his father in his corset shop. He did a brief stint as a sailor on a privateer ship at 20. After a while, he was hired as a tax collector by the government, but he was fired after his petitions for higher wages. At some point, Paine met Benjamin Franklin in London. Franklin wrote him a letter of recommendation, and Paine left for America. He worked as a journalist in Philadelphia. The year was 1774, and dissent was brewing among the colonists. Thomas Paine held a dim view of the British government, and he believed the American opposition to it was too mild. In 1775, he started writing his soon-to-be famous pamphlet. He argued that Americans were no longer British. Paine railed against the monarchy.
In England, a king hath little more to do than to make war and give away places, which in plain terms is to impoverish the nation and set it together by the ears.
In Paine's view, America was the home of the free. Instead of being loyal to the crown, it should become a new world.
This new world hath been the asylum for the persecuted lovers of civil and religious liberty from every part of Europe.
America, Paine wrote, had a unique chance. It could become the first country in the world to create a new nation. This nation would be based on self-rule, with limited government. Paine emphasized that a strong central government would be necessary, but he called it a necessary evil. He also argued that America had all the resources to become independent.
The present time likewise is that peculiar time, which never happens to a nation but once, viz. The time of forming itself into a government. Most nations have let slip the opportunity, and by that means have been compelled to receive laws from their conquerors, instead of making laws for themselves.
Common Sense was published anonymously on January 10, 1776. It was an immediate success. The pamphlet was read aloud at taverns and meeting places. Proportionally, it had the largest circulation of any book in American history. It went through 25 published editions in the first year alone. Handwritten copies were also being made and distributed. Many American revolutionaries favored a more cautious approach. They believed America should remain a British colony, only with more self-rule. But Paine's arguments proved to be hugely influential. Thomas Jefferson considered Paine to be the best writer of the Revolution. The popularity of Common Sense made independence all but inevitable. Even John Adams, who favored a more conservative approach, was forced to admit,
Common sense, like a ray of revelation, has come unseasonably to clear our doubts and to fix our choice.
Within a few months of its publication, the revolution was irreversible. The Continental Congress instructed each colony to draft new state constitutions. This ultimately resulted in the Declaration of Independence. Thomas Paine went on to become a notorious iconoclast. He lived in France, where he was arrested for his revolutionary writings. When he returned to America, he wrote pamphlets attacking George Washington. His fierce criticism of Christianity made Paine a pariah. Only 6 people attended his funeral in 1806. Common Sense remains the best-selling American book.